cell towers can't cause cancer?
I believe that everybody wants to believe our government. Technology is what it is, and it's growing, and it's growing out of control.
Feruli's son's cancer has returned, and he's now...
Pause that one and go to that one.
We're gonna start blood again.
Alright. Because they said too, if we can chop it up to make it a small video.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, yeah, oh yeah, we can chop it up. Like, we took the most important parts, because this is an hour long, so obviously there's only...
And then we'll do everything in there.
Yeah, I can...
22 minutes past 9 this Thursday morning. Very good to have you with us. My next guest is David Icke. He's a former footballer and sports broadcaster. Is now known as a professional conspiracy theorist. He describes himself as a full-time investigative journalist searching for the truth of what's really going on in the world. The author of over 20 books, has lectured in over 25 countries, speaking for up to...
It's not slowing down. And then I went into the specs. I'm like, damn, this thing has 800 gigs of storage, bro. What? It was so low in RAM that it was still kind of going slow. So once I upgraded the RAM, bro, this thing is a supercomputer now. It's shit crazy.
Alright.
Alright, word. Alright, word. So.
And I'll cook in a little bit.
Okay, baby. Thank you.
No problem.
Alright, word.
Is it good on us?
Yeah,
The picture.
10 hours to audiences all over the world, and he's appearing, I should say, in the Helix in Dublin tomorrow night to talk about his book, Everything You Need to Know But Have Never Been Told. Dave, good morning.
Oh, it's because I need to put the high definition mode.
Yeah, I was thinking it had something to do with resolution, because I definitely put something in it with the 1.5x in the videos. I think it's gonna go faster. Why would you have an option like that?
Absolutely historic levels of ridicule. I have this phrase I've written in the books: life so often gives you your greatest gift, brilliantly disguised as your worst nightmare. And mass ridicule...
So should I start it?
Yeah, restart it.
What up, guys?
Yo.
This is the D-Rod's Truth Tube. This is my channel. We're gonna look here, David Icke. He's been a known, revolution type person to, expose the truth and all that. So we're just gonna, do a reaction video. This is my boy, Anthony.
What's up?
Yeah, we're just gonna, chip in information, what we think at some time points. We'll, pause the video or whatever, so yeah.
On that historic scale, in the face of it, was a worst nightmare. But it set me free. And what was that freedom? It was the freedom from fearing or being concerned by what other people think of you. We are in a period now where speaking your truth and not being intimidated into silence,
It's just showing everything.
it's not just important, it's utterly crucial to where humanity goes from here. If I had not have gone through that extraordinarily extreme experience and let go of this concern what other people think, does anybody think I would have talked and written about some of the things I have since? No way. You don't accept it? Don't accept it. Fine. But you're not going to stop me saying it. One of my great surprises over the years was to read in a newspaper about a program that's a radio program in Britain that's been running a very, very long time, called Desert Island Discs.
My castaway this week is the Pulitzer Prize-winning writer Alice Walker.
And when she was asked, what book would you take to the desert island? She said,
I would like to take Human Race, Get Off Your Knees by David Icke.
She said, when I met her, there was this silence. Did she just say a book by David Icke? I met her and spent hours with her at her home in California, and it's one of the most memorable days of my life.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Delighted to have time to talk to you this time.
I know. Oh.
Hey.
I think David Icke is a great teacher. And I think he's really the right teacher for now because he's so present.
I've seen The View. I do not understand why you live here. What makes you live here?
Well,
You should live in downtown LA.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, you know, tough. Come on in.
Thank you. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
You look incredible.
Really? Thank you.
You look incredible.
Goodness, that helps. I'm so happy that you could come. And I wanted to show you, you know, our part of the world. And this part right here has been very comforting. And has a feeling of safety for me.
Got a great calmness about it.
Yeah. In fact, I was thinking about some of the similarities that we share. And I was writing this book called The Temple of My Familiar. And honestly, the synchronicities were just like all the time. Living here, it supported that, you know. And in fact, that's one of my earliest connections to your work and feeling supported by similar energies.
Right.
So I felt comfortable with your work in a way that many people up until recently have not seemed to be.
No. Comfortable.
We have the same car.
We have the same car. We do. Even the same color. That's incredible. Both sides of the Atlantic. Same color. Same color.
I don't know if anybody else could do it but him, actually. He somehow has all of the qualifications for presenting it with enough nerve, you know, just sheer nerve.
Something in the energetic field around you that you never feel alone.
Right.
There's always some support there.
Yeah.
And that's what drove me on when everyone else was saying crazy and this is nonsense.
Well, my Aquarian spirit helps me there because I've been trashed a lot, but I have this ability to just keep going and feel that support. I mean, from the time I was a child, we lived way in the country and we were very poor, and I used to have a stick that I would walk along the fence with, just making what music I could out of the sound of the stick on the fence, in perfect happiness, because I felt all around me, you know, that I was supported.
What I found that if a person just accepts, well, actually, that I wasn't told the truth, was I? The next question is, well,
what else am I being lied about?
What else am I not being told that's not true? And the dominoes start to fall. I see that a lot.
Yeah.
So,
I think that we need him as a teacher because some of the subject matter is so strange to most people. Strange just mainly because they're not used to thinking outside of a certain, you know, box, if you will.
When I came across these other explanations for reality, I'd been a professional footballer, I'd been a journalist, I'd been a radio reporter, I'd been on television, I'd been in politics in the Green Party. I lived quite an expansive life.
Everything, not just the little things, but everything that you've been told, right? And everything that you've been living your life based off of has been absolutely wrong, and that scares a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
and they even go crazy. Some people won't even take the right actions once they're told the truth. They might have, like he says, a domino effect, where you be like, well, what else is a lie? And then you start thinking that everything in your life is a lie. And there's like a huge hump to go over once you accept that. Once you accept that, you know, everything you've been told is not what it is. Some people just need time to accept all those things, and they're right. It can be detrimental, the truth, in a lot of ways. And you know, she's absolutely right.
Heard of it. And my first question, which actually started to lead me into the conspiracy, was why isn't this taught in schools? This is the stadium in which this whole human society is played out, keeping humanity in ignorance of itself.
So we can be used.
Yeah. If I've ever met a spiritual soulmate in terms of the way we see the world, then it's Alice Walker. She's just an incredible example of someone who doesn't just believe something, but lives it. And all these years later, she's still there, still driving on, still challenging imposition and challenging injustice. And it was an absolute joy to spend time with her. I hope it's not the last time that we ever meet.
I love his mind, and I think for people who enjoy exploring the nature of reality and you know, unreality, what he teaches is very intriguing. I, for one, am just deeply grateful. I feel I've learned so much, and it makes me feel more at home in the mystery.
People are using racial problems in this world to for their own benefit, for their own gain.
Oh yeah.
And they're using it, and you know, even some of the people that we look up to, and you know, in the past, you know, it's during the civil rights movements, a lot of those people were, you know, were for communism, and it's for Marxism, you know, in general, and they weren't really for the civil rights. That's why we don't see a lot of improvement in civil rights, because people in power end up taking that idea and going, this is a way for me to rally up people to start a war, to start an army, you know. And think about how every revolution starts.
Right.
It starts with the people, and the people believing in something, that something is wrong and something is bad, and there's no way around fixing it other than revolting. Because we are people. We believe that there are other ways to go about this. But once we're put in that environment where we feel like there's nothing that we can do about it, we revolt.
That's what a revolution is.
And she's absolutely right that, you know, it's a lot of what we're going through right now, where it's just people. Everything that we're seeing, all the problems we're seeing, are just people trying to divide us, to group us into categories, and then eventually, you know, break apart. We need to stay, you know, unified in that sense.
Unified, like, dude, if we were to, like, all, you know, like, vote and be smart, bro, we can control the fucking
just
the
be smart.
system.
Exactly.
We can control it.
It's there for us.
We're how many billion?
We're so it's
7 billion.
7 billion, something like that.
Imagine just us getting on, and that's the thing. Like, there's so much disruption in the field. Just imagine, and it's happening now. That's why they're just. If you see this new shit, like, you ask yourself, oh, you know, things are going so crazy and all that, but you can see it's fucking, like, everything's out in the open.
Everything's out in the open.
It's just nuts. You know,
everything's out. Everything's out.
They're trying their hardest.
They're trying hard. They're good to make sure that we know everything, and that's why we have videos like this for us to watch. That's why we're watching this video right now. We may not seem like the smartest kids, but we're watching. We're able to watch this video and to actually know the truth, and to know what really is being done to us. And I feel like that's super important.
Hell yeah, that's super important. And me and him, like, we fucking got together and we're like, yo, we're gonna do some shit, man. We're fucking gonna try to spread the truth through the fucking music. We're gonna do some music podcasts, you know, reaction videos. Try to give you guys, you know, what's really going on, because, you know, we could do entertainment things, but I'm rather more of a realistic,
but yeah, it's the reality. And I feel like a lot of people go on YouTube to find, you know, the reality of what's going on. I feel like, you know, it's something that we talk a lot about these certain topics, and I feel like a lot of people, we just feel like if more people were involved in this conversation that we have, and to even be able to reach out to other people who are also doing it, that would be, you know, that's what we want. This is the goal.
Yeah, so if you like this,
give it a thumbs up.
Oh yeah, subscribe. We're gonna come out with more videos like this.
Exactly.
Just talking about what's going on in the government and all that. We're gonna get back to the video.
Back to the video,
If you keep going and you don't give up and you don't apologize for being you, and if what you say has validity, then eventually it will come together. But if you don't keep going when all seems lost, when it seems that it's going nowhere and it's all a struggle, and the times when the waters break and the clouds open never comes. You know, no one said it would be easy.
Hey!
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's just incredible how many people are here tonight, because this was only thought of about, a month ago. But the interest now is incredible. And that's why they're trying to shut me up, and it becomes more difficult to find a venue big enough for all the people that want to come. And what this evening is about is context. This is what is absolutely missing, not least in the mainstream media, context. If you look at people, organizations, happenings, world events, in isolation, they look a certain way. But you put them in context, how they connect together to a common direction, and whoa, the world looks very, very, very different. The key is why they are happening. The why is what opens the vista up. The idea of the postage stamp is to keep us seeing only the pieces, never the picture, but connect the dots between these organizations, people, world events, happenings, and suddenly, so that's what's going on. This world of the seen is being manipulated from the unseen, which is almost the entirety of existence that we can't see. People can say, we are free, and to them it may seem like it, being able to vote for someone every 4 or 5 years who then does what they like until they get the chance to vote again 4 or 5 years later. It's called freedom. But the idea is to not let us see the bars and not let us see the walls of the prison. What they want to do is to make sure we don't know what's going on, but that we don't know what's going on. How it works is you've got a spider at the center of the web. And then you've got these strands immediately around the spider. All this is in the unseen. And these secret societies, symbolized by those strands, are the most secretive, the most exclusive. Most of them don't even have names, so they're harder to uncover. And then as you come out from the spider, still in the hidden, you meet the secret societies we do know about, like the Freemasons and the Knights Templar and the Knights of Malta and Opus Dei and the inner circle of the Jesuit order and others. Now we hit the world that we see, or the world of governments and banking systems and corporations and government agencies. And at that point, we think that the decisions that are dictating to our lives are being made by those people. In the end, if you go deep enough or high enough, whichever symbol you want, you hit this force. But the vast, overwhelming majority of people in these areas of society have no idea that that's the case, because of something called compartmentalization. And therefore, only a few at the top know the big picture. Everyone else only knows a part of it. What you do is you get some blokes in suits and you plonk a head on them, and you call them Republican or you call them Democrat. These are the here today, gone tomorrow politicians that are basically irrelevant. Because in the Republican Party, for instance, there's a group of people in the background called the neocons or neoconservatives. And they control the Republican Party and they control the Republican president. They're controlling Trump now. In the Democratic Party, you've got another group of people, and I call them the Democons. And they control the Democratic Party and whoever's in the presidency. They, at the next stage back into the hidden, answer to the same force. So whoever the here today, gone tomorrow politician is, that is always in control. It's known by some as the permanent government. And therefore, nothing changes. Whoever you vote for, the same direction of society continues, because the people you're looking at are not the ones in control. So when you see these people that come to power, they don't come to power by accident. They come to power by design. The money, the media coverage, all of that goes to put them into power, to serve this web. Some of them know a lot about what's happening. A lot of them know some of what's happening, and a lot of them know nothing. They're just malleable people who will sign the right paper and push the right policy on behalf of that in the hidden. And yet, if you don't know that, and most people don't, then you have people divided and ruled, fighting each other over which here today, gone tomorrow politician is the right one. And the hidden hand is laughing its pants off, because that's exactly what they want, divide and rule.
That's why me and him are going to do something about it. Yeah. We're not just going to sit here and just work a 9 to 5, try to survive. No, man. Yeah. Think outside the box. God, please, Jason.
Whoa, a Route Master bus. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Thanks for coming. I know some people have come from long distances. And this is the alternative tour of London. In America in particular now, the term deep state is almost common parlance. This hidden government, this global hidden government, is always there. And one of the great centres of that is London. Down there is Downing Street, of course, and the Ministry of Defence. And Downing Street is another location for here today, gone tomorrow politicians. Hello, Teresa, are you all right? And that's the Bank of England, where they lend people money that doesn't exist and charge them interest on it. It's called organised crime in any other profession, but in banking it's legal. We're heading round now towards Buckingham Palace. It's kind of extraordinary when you think about it, that we think now that we're in a modern, advanced, mature society. But Britain, and indeed the countries of the Commonwealth, have their head of state chosen, to bring it down to basics, by who had sex with who in what order. That's it. That's how we choose who is the head of state in this country. They're in awe of them. You're not supposed to turn your back on the Queen. You have to back out the room. Oh, it's the Queen, but do we ever ask, why is she Queen? This royal phenomenon is an in-your-face example of what is called today the 1%. Over to the left is the place where most people think this country is run from, the Houses of Parliament. And if you can get the population to focus on the wrong place where the decisions are being made but aren't really, then you're not going to get people to see where the power and the direction of the world is being controlled from. And here we have to the right, on the other side of the river, the Tower of London. Maybe I'll end up there one day, who knows? Oh yeah, no probs.
Thank you very much.
I think the world is going in the wrong direction, but there's only him maybe talking about it, so it was really interesting to see it from first hand.
At least he's giving truths out there that plant a seed, and that's what the seed needs to do, plant and grow, so everybody knows the truth, I think.
People don't seem to reject him as much anymore. They open up, and thankful for that, gratefully, yeah.
Well, the good thing about him is he knows how to laugh at himself, which I think is something that a lot of our politicians could learn a lesson from.
A quick series of dot connects to bring us to present day, show how this works. In the 1990s, a group was created in America called the Project for the New American Century. It was the neocon organization, the one behind the Republican Party. It was co-founded by Robert Kagan and William Crystal, and in it was Dick Cheney, who would become de facto president with Bush, Rumsfeld, who would be head of the Pentagon, the Defense Department, his deputy, Wolfowitz, Dov Zakheim, who controlled the entire budget of the Pentagon as comptroller, and this man, John Bolton, who's never seen a country he didn't want to bomb. And in September 2000, this lot produced a document. In this document, they called for American forces to fight and decisively win multiple simultaneous major theater wars. They named the countries: Iraq, Libya, Syria, Lebanon, Iran, North Korea, China. Nothing changes a status quo quicker or more permanently than a war. So, status quo. You have a war, new status quo. You have another war, new status quo. And each one's taking you nearer and nearer to your goal, which is the global centralization of power. How many people do you know that want a war? Hardly anybody. But we have them all the time. War after war after war after war. And it's this web that is driving these wars. This is why there is always money for war. Because the web is deciding what governments spend money on, and they want the war. So no one ever says, we can't go to war, we can't afford it. General Wesley Clark, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, he was interviewed in 2007, and he said that immediately after 9/11, he went to the Pentagon and was told by a general friend of his in the so-called Joint Chiefs of Staff that the decision had been made that America was going to invade 7 countries in 5 years, and the countries he named were the countries named by the Project for the New American Century in September 2000.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me, and one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years."
At number 1, Bush, Republican, Blair, Labour, picked Iraq off the list because that's what they were told to do. And Iraq, of course, was invaded through weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist because it was on the list. It had to be targeted. They didn't have an excuse. They made one up. Then there's this transformation. Now, before we go from Labour to Cameron, David Cameron, the British Prime Minister, Conservative, and we go from Republican Bush to Democrat Obama. But what do? They tick Libya off the list, again based on a lie, and they start the process to create the civil war in Syria. Now, Drain the Swamp Man comes in, and he's targeting Syria and more targeting Iran.
Iran's leaders sow chaos, death, and destruction. They do not respect their neighbors or borders or the sovereign rights of nations. Instead, Iran's leaders plunder the nation's resources to enrich themselves and to spread mayhem across the Middle East and far beyond.
The hidden hand is calling the shots. They come and they go. Where they wanted to lead, we let them. As I've been saying and writing since the 1990s, is World War III. They always plan 3 world wars. And what they want to do is play off NATO against Russia, China, and allies like Iran. And that's what this is all about. This insane demonization of Russia. that goes on day after day after day. They're seeking to soften up global public opinion, Western public opinion, to accept a war. This is why you're having this massive NATO buildup of arms and troops on the borders of countries that border Russia.
Next, leaders from NATO countries met in Poland today to finalize plans to beef up the military alliance. For the first time since the Cold War, multinational troops will continuously rotate through 4 countries in Eastern Europe.
Russia has called this buildup a provocation. Is this a provocation?
I would view it as a deterrent. And if I was looking at it through the lens of a potential aggressor, I would say it's an exceptionally capable deterrent.
You've got all these troops, American troops, British troops, that think they're fighting for their country, when what they're doing is fighting for that force which is destroying their country and is aimed to create a nightmare world for their kids and their grandkids. If you keep invading countries like Iraq, then, you know, people will look up from the game show and go, hey, Ethel, they're invading someone else, what's going on? So what you do is you get the population, or some of it, in the target country to unseat the leader you want to remove. And this is the specialization of a group of organizations called the Open Society Foundations, run by this billionaire democon, George Soros. They were behind the manipulation of the Arab Spring. That went well for Arabs, didn't it, that? And they are behind what are called color revolutions, like the Rose Revolution in Georgia and the Orange Revolution in Ukraine, where they get the people to appear to have a revolution against the leader, but actually that's not what's really going on. Now, a few weeks ago now, George Soros announced that he was going to transfer $18 billion to his Open Society Foundation group, bringing his total donation so far to $32 billion. That's the kind of money that is there to be used to disrupt countries. And one of the Soros Open Society coups was in Ukraine, when they replaced President Yanukovych that was looking to Russia with this guy Poroshenko, who's a puppet of America. And the person who oversaw that was Victoria Nuland, Assistant Secretary of State for Eurasian Affairs, who is the wife of the co-founder of the Project for the New American Century, Robert Kagan. When you get deep in the rabbit hole, it's a very, very, very small world. And the trigger for all this sequence that we're still seeing unfold, was 9/11. And in that document in September 2000, it said that unless there was a new Pearl Harbor, then this process of regime change would necessarily be slow. In the words of the document, further, the process of transformation is likely to be a long one, absent some catastrophic and catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor. And 1 year to the month after this was published, 9 months after the people that wrote it came to power with Bush, America had what Bush called at the time the Pearl Harbor of the 21st century, which started the whole sequence running. Know the outcome and you'll see the journey. This is why it's so important to uncover where they want to go, what their outcome is. Because once you know their outcome, seeing the steps every day towards that outcome are a doddle. But if you don't know the outcome, then these steps are now random. There seems to be no connection, but the outcome connects them. And this structure, this pyramid, is where it's all been leading. I call it the Hunger Games society. They want an elite 1% at its core, less than 1%, that dictate everything. They have all the wealth, they have all the power, they have control of the military, they have control of government, the whole shebang. At the bottom, they want the rest of humanity, basically. Even those who at the moment think they're doing okay, they've got some money in the bank, they've got a nice house and that stuff, none of this matters to me. If you're not in the 1%, they want that as well. And in between, they want this quite demonstrably unfolding around the world. Police state, actually in the end, police military state, to hold this status quo and to impose the will of the 1% on the population. The outcome is they want a world government, a world army, a world central bank dictating all finance, and a world electronic currency. This is why they are running around like headless chickens, trying to stop Brexit now. They never believed that anyone would vote to come out. Now they're trying to stop it, because the idea is more and more countries are sucked into the EU, not that anyone leaves. And it's because they want a police-military state where they both fuse that we're seeing the police look and act more and more like the military all the time. This is why a Pentagon program called 1033 is giving tanks to local police forces in America.
Someone has to explain why your local police department has gone from this to this.
Warren County, New York, population 65,000 and home to Lake George, is a wintertime postcard. Peaceful, picturesque, and well protected. This September, the Sheriff's Department took delivery of a fully armored, mine-resistant vehicle called an MRAP, the same piece of equipment used by soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I would be remiss at doing my job if I didn't prepare for the worst.
Bud York is the Warren County Sheriff.
All that stuff, think about all that. Oh, and then we need to strap up our arms.
Oh, the Vegas shooting was staged too.
Yeah,
but you see how it goes unnoticed and shit like that? Because those were the planned shit.
Yeah, and they're planned to so people can look back and go, oh, that's why this has changed. But really, it's all like a bigger scheme. It's there's a lot of bigger guys pulling the strings for a lot of these changes to happen, and for a really big reason, a reason that we don't even that is totally oblivious to all of us.
Oh yeah. So yep, we're finishing the video. If you like the video, give it a like if you want. I wouldn't like it if I didn't like it. So subscribe if you like this channel. This is D-Rod's Truth Tube, and we are out.
I'm tasked with protecting the public and protecting my people. That accomplishes